2014 has been a decent year for anime compared to the recent years. So much so that I thought I would make a top 10 video listing my favourite shows of the year. The same rules apply to my normal seasonal lists. Sequels or new seasons of already existing franchises don't count. The reason for this is if you like the first season of something, chances are you're going to watch the second season regardless. That means no Mushishi or Fate on this list. At the number 10 spot is Akatsuki no Yona, a series that follows a princess and her posse as they roam a fictional olden time Japanese world. This series is a weird one in that it's quite hard to pinpoint what the show is like. Every arc seems to bring a new style, from a very dramatic style at the start to a more adventurous style near the recent episodes. It's a really fun adventure with plenty of action and comedy. The characters are fairly entertaining and the animation stays consistently good quality, but it seems as if the story doesn't have as much depth as what's alluded. For now it seems okay, but it could become quite repetitive in the future. Next on the list is Shinichiro Watanabe's experimental show Space Dandy. The show was quite unique in that it aired in the West alongside Japan. The show was an episodic adventure show that followed a small cast of characters. The show was brilliantly animated and was quite enjoyable for a few episodes, but the lack of attachment made it fairly boring and repetitive. The way in which the show was produced made it that they could never really connect the episodes up, so they had to rely solely on the individual stories. Like I said, some were very entertaining, but after a few they just got a bit too repetitive. Gekken Shoujo Nozaki-kun was a hidden gem of a comedy. It didn't really set itself up to be anything revolutionary. It was set in high school with a fairly average cast of characters, but they used such a unique style of humour that lasted the whole series. The humour didn't get boring and provided lots of opportunities for jokes and funny situations. But the show lacked ambition to go any further than that. They never developed the character relationships past certain points, and never really delved into anything too deep. Probably for the best. Overall it was a great comedy series that stands out from other comedy shows with its unique style of humour. Next on the list is the anime adaptation of Parasite. This bizarre show presents a very odd concept that actually goes deeper than the show tends to explore. The show gives us this great world where humans have to cope with a new problem. Although the show seems like it just scratches at the topic, it actually goes quite deep into it through character interactions and development. They kind of shot themselves in the foot by setting it in high school. It takes a degree of the seriousness away, but they still managed to capture the emotions and drama that come with the story. Animation was fairly high quality and the characters, for the most part, fit into the story well. We'll not talk about the soundtrack. Garo is next on the list. The unique anime from MAPPA offers a number of different things. It has a cast of interesting characters, all with their own personalities and attributes, paired with an interesting story that opens up both the main story and episodic stories. The animation style was also quite refreshing. They used various different styles for various different parts of the show. For example, 2D animation was used for a lot of the scenes, but 3D animation was used for many fight scenes. I can't say it blended perfectly, but it didn't look out of place. The problem with Garo is its lack of goal or lack of direction. It never seemed to be going down one path. Some episodes I felt like I knew what it was doing, others I felt a bit confused. This lack of organisation led to a very messy plot in some places. Zanki no Terror is next on the list, a tense detective thriller that bases its story around the touchy subject of terrorism. The animation and setup for this series was superb, and what they did execute off the setup was pretty good, but it failed to touch on way too many topics it brought up to be higher on the list. There was some smart writing for some scenes, but poor for others. There were some great characters, but some really disappointing ones. The show set itself up too much, which means they had some great content, but just too much other content that was abandoned or rushed. A great example of what we could possibly see in the future, but still very far from it. I'm not one to normally rate romance anime highly. For the most part, they rarely innovate and tend to overuse tropes, but I'm making an exception for Your Lie in April. It's a romance series that revolves around playing classical music. It's actually a very well written romance that doesn't force its way in any direction. It feels very natural, and they don't overplay the drama. There's also very little fan service, which allows me to take the show and characters seriously. It has some really interesting themes that are subtly included without feeling too forced. The animation, despite a few drops here and there, is quite nice looking. The characters are fairly enjoyable and don't get too annoying or overdramatic. Overall, it's a smartly written romance that doesn't rely too much on fan service or drama to attach its viewers. Barakamon is the perfect example of how to make a good slice of life anime. It doesn't try too hard to be anything it's not. It doesn't try to be too dramatic, and it perfectly captures the feeling it's going for. The show revolves around the characters completely, and they were a very strong set of characters. They all developed well and offered different elements to the show. The story was very simple, but still original. It produced a really nice story that was easy to watch and concluded nicely. What I really liked about Barakamon was that it didn't overstay its welcome. It came in with a goal, achieved the goal and left. It didn't add any unnecessary romance, drama or story. It just accomplished what it wanted to accomplish at a high standard and left it at that. Shingeki no Bahamut was one of the most enjoyable series of the year. Its great mixture of action, world building and brilliant animation made it jump into the number 2 spot. It's rare you get an adventure anime that's episodic in nature that also develops the main story. The story actually has quite a bit of depth to it, which was quite surprising. But the best bit about the show has to be its style. Everything from the animation style to the directing. It was all done in such a unique way. The directing was very fast paced and allowed for a lot of serious content as well as comedy. Overall it was a super fun anime in many aspects. And in the number 1 spot this year was Masaki Yuasa's Ping Pong the Animation. Yuasa didn't really go wrong anywhere with this anime. He produced an outstanding blend of characters that created one of the most engaging series of the past few years. Everything was put together perfectly, from the pacing to the balance of development. The whole show seemed to fit perfectly, leaving little more to desire after. I left Ping Pong feeling completely satisfied with the experience. I didn't feel like certain elements lacked anything. It was so nice to come out of an anime feeling like I'd been given the whole package. With a brave art style and unique storytelling style, Ping Pong was a superb addition to this year of anime, and well deserving of the number 1 spot. So that's been my top 10 of the year. It's been a good year. We've seen many shows that were unique and high quality, hopefully setting us up for what looks like an interesting 2015. If you guys had a different top 10, please post them in the comments. I'm curious as to what shows were enjoyed the most. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and want to support my channel, please click the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.